Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore Podcast. My name is Jeff, and guess who's here in the crazy house with me? It's Richard.
Hello.
And Michael.
Howdy.
The Morning Zoo crew here behind the desk console thing here to play some songs about drugs, because that's the topic. The Mount Rushmore of songs about drugs. Richard, why did you choose it? Because you're on drugs.
I feel like we need more. Jeff, please make sure you edit in a lot of sound effects.
Yeah, whistles.
Whistles and bells and shit like that.
Okay, sure.
A lion roar.
Yes. There was a specific song, one of my choices, that I came on my Spotify mix, and it got me thinking, boy, there are a lot of songs about drugs, aren't they?
Well, why do we think that is? It's because musicians are all on drugs. Is that it? Do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it, Jeff. I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
I think drugs have been part of. I think that there was a rise in pop culture drug use that kind of rose along with rock and roll. I don't think it started with rock and roll. Obviously, drugs have been around for a long time. I don't think I have any songs about absinthe or anything, or like, or like smoking opium. But I guarantee that they wrote. There's poetry about that shit before. Like it was a
My Coca-Cola's got real cocaine. Dun, 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 dun.
I think that they go hand in hand, and I think that there's a lifestyle sort of thing that kind of goes hand in hand across the board, across all genres of music. That I think that makes it various kinds of drugs make for interesting bedfellows and songs and topics or songs too.
Okay. All right. Richard chose it. Michael starts. What's your first one?
So I tried.
Sorry. I should say, let's make these all over-the-counter drugs. I don't want to get into illegal.
Yeah, I've got a Sudafed song. I've got one about.
Okay, what's your first one, Michael? Sorry.
Yeah, the Morrissey song that mentions like as a Zappa plan and all these different things. I'll find it at some point when you're talking.
Sudafed head.
I think that there's a Pavement song that mentions like Tylenol, but I could be wrong. Yeah. I don't know. So I tried to have an old-fashioned category off in my own head, trying to think like, okay, what are 4 types of drugs or that I can break this down to? So I went with weed, aka marijuana, hallucinogenic drug, cocaine, and heroin. So let's see. I'm sure that there's lots of other drugs, but I don't know. I didn't have any. I don't think songs about like meth are fun, right? Is there a good song about meth? I don't know. But the first song,
probably not.
But the first song, go ahead.
I was gonna say was there a band called The Crystal Method?
Yes. Oh, good point. So my first choice is the first 4 songs off of the Crystal Method's first album. My first song is Pass the Doochie by Musical Youth, the 1982 kind of veiled song about smoking weed.
No, it's about a Dutchie pot.
You're right. Yeah.
That's what they would claim whenever asked about it.
Oh.
It's a reggae song out of England, or pop reggae, or I don't know what you'd call it, but it's one of my favorite songs for a couple of reasons. One, I remember this is just a song that would come on K-Rock every once in a while, and it would always seem kind of like out of place. K-Rock was so good back in the day of kind of mixing such a variety of music, and they kind of would have like a reggae hour on like Sundays at like noon or something, but then they'd always kind of intersperse this reggae music with a kind of their alternative and kind of new wave stuff. But then also we had this album that was just like in our record collection somewhere, and I remember just how iconic it was that it had like the images of these like 4 or 5 like just young-ish boys, and that looked always way cooler than me, but they ranged from age of like 10 to like 15 or 10 to 18 or something. So they were just kind of like, they weren't quite menudo, but they looked really cool, and they looked cool from every age. But getting to the song itself, it's a not so veiled, kind of song about smoking weed. And I thought that it was such a joyous song. And like so many songs, or a couple of the other songs that I have, um, kind of might speak to the pitfalls of doing drugs and whatever. But um, a song that kind of celebrates sharing this drug with your friends, I thought was a good way to kind of start it out, just singing about something that you really enjoy and really love, and hey, pass it to me. And this is from coming from someone who's really never done any drugs and is recording this podcast with a heating pad on his back because, God, I'm so old. I'm sure there is.
Your main drug is icy hot right now.
It really is our little tiger balm.
Okay, food's almost here, so now's a good time. I'm gonna stop for a minute.
Okay.
I'll step out and I'll be right back.
Super.
That Richard Manfredi, what a guy. So are you
There's no way he knows how to play all three of those guitars at the same time. Are you kidding me?
I'm curious, you were talking about you had kind of an idea of what maybe like what role you were kind of moving in the direction of, and then it kind of changed. Is that right? Because
so I started working with the IT department. Now it's been close to 2 years, just kind of helping out on the help desk, like basically kind of filtering things to different departments and kind of trying to triage requests that come in, and kind of speed things along. And I was doing a great job of it. But then they started having me help out more and more with the consultant IT work, which is, we have like employees that work for us for Oxford, but then we also, we're a staffing company. We have all these consultants that work for us that we send out equipment to or have technical needs, where they're like employed with, I don't know, choose a company, Honeywell, but they're employed through us. They're staffed through us and sometimes they need technical help. Well, I've been, over the last like 7 or 8 months, kind of been moving towards working in the consultant area. But I've been like, my kind of fingers are in all sorts of pies at once. I'm in too many different roles right now. Like I was working on the help desk, and then I was doing this consultant stuff, and I was doing all this other stuff, and I was just kind of been all over the place and been really stressed. And they finally hired a couple new people, and one person was kind of helping out their main role with the help desk, and another person like helping out with IT stuff. So it kind of freed me up to kind of focus on consultant stuff. Well, one of the people that was with the help desk moved to a different part of the company. And so I'm most likely, or I'm going to be moving back into this kind of more help desk role, which is probably more suited to my talents. And it's a lot less technical, but then I don't know. It's just like, I'm just pulled in all these different directions because I can be. I've kind of often described myself as kind of like a utility player on our team, because I can do half a dozen different things. But then at some point it just becomes, I don't know, a little stressful and tiring. And then all of a sudden this came out in the last week that basically this is what's going to happen. And like I said, the guy that I work with is going to Chile for 2 months. He's going to be working for most of it. And then another person is going on paternity leave for like 2 to 3 weeks, if not longer. Yeah. So it's just going to be like, it's not a hot boy summer for me. I'm tired. I'm tired after, watching my kid for a day.
I thought for some reason Chile was in a drastically different. It's in my time zone, so it's not like it's going to be. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even know that. I guess that makes sense. They mentioned that he's going to be working, but he's going to be working East Coast hours. So,
well, I feel for you, because like this is the first time in my life I've realized, oh shit, I am stuck in a path, And
Wow,
this
Chile
job
really
might be
did
the
that.
last. What?
Wow. South America is really crazy.
I agree.
Look at that entire country is like not where I expected it. There's nothing below California. Wow. Holy shit. Where the fuck is Brazil? Rio de Janeiro is like the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean. That is crazy.
What's this?
Anyway. Oh, I was just explaining to Jeff that one of my somebody that I work with is going to be in Chile for 2 months doing like work, but he's working like East Coast times. And I was like, I don't understand that. But then we're looking at South America compared to North America, and I don't understand this planet basically.
Right.
Oh, but Jeff, you were saying before we get back into it that you don't understand. What were you saying about your role?
When you're a kid, you think you got all the time in the world, and that you could go from one thing to another, or that ultimately you could educate yourself into a new role or something like that. I'm not even at that point where, like, if I see some kind of new technology thing or new career thing, I'm 53 years old. They don't even hire me to do the shit that I know how to do. Nobody's going to hire me to do technology. Nobody's going to hire me to do anything
You're like
innovative.
you're in the prime age to lose all your money on like NFT monkeys
Yeah.
and like
Yes.
Bitcoin. So I would get into
Seth
like
Green.
bored apes.
White guy problems. All right, so what? Oh, Michael
I
has
had
just done his
finished a
thing.
dry type on Pass the Duchy.
Okay. The Duchy has been passed, and now
So has the baton.
so is the baton. What's your first one?
All right, so I'll go with the one that made me think of this topic, and that is the song "Sorted for Ease and Whiz" by the British band Pulp.
Wow.
And it's a song that's it's a great song. Was a controversial song in England. Essentially, it's a song that's about the drug culture around like raves and music festivals and uh, electronic music concerts, EDM, stuff like that. The lead singer and songwriter of Pulp, Jarvis Cocker, originally got the idea for a song because he asked a girl that he met who had went to go see the Stone Roses at one of these like kind of shows that was just out in the middle of a field somewhere on an island, and asked what she remembered about it. And what she said was, well, there are all these blokes walking around saying, is everybody sorted out for ease and whiz, which is ecstasy and speed. And that's the only thing she remembered about it. And he just thought it was such a great phrase that he could write a song about it.
Wow.
And the whole point of the song is basically, it's very much ambivalent towards drugs, or sort of like, what's the point of drugs? And that's kind of Jarvis Cocker's whole take on the drug culture is it's all kind of hollow. It's
Yeah.
all, what's the point of going to a concert when you don't when all you're there to do is take drugs and you don't remember anything about the concert? What's the whole
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
And the fact that, you go to these things and everyone's super friendly because they're on drugs. But then like 6 a.m, everyone's come down off the drugs and everyone's surly and angry and don't want anything to do with each other. And there are so many songs on that are either celebrating drugs or kind of like, hey, you know, they're either very much drugs are bad, don't do it, they're dangerous, or can talk about it from that standpoint. There aren't many songs that talk about it just as a drugs are really boring and stupid kind of take on it.
Mhm.
And so I appreciated that. I mentioned it was controversial. Before the song was released as a single, the British tabloid The Daily Mail decided to make it a cause celeb and make it seem that this song was going to be glamorizing drugs, and they started a campaign to try and get the sleeve of the record label banned, and it was just a big mess. Probably wound up helping the sales of the song. Of course, it wound up number 2 in the British charts, so it
Yeah,
certainly
doesn't it
didn't hurt
always?
it. Yeah, I'm sure that it wasn't missed by the
That
band, the
sounds
sort
like
of
there was
subtleness of it.
probably a call from their manager or the label itself to the British press to say, "Hey, I heard this song is about drugs. You should have it banned."
Right, and I
Yeah.
think I think it's just sort of it's interesting, like I said, to have this song that kind of takes kind of makes fun of a band's target audience,
Mhm.
you know?
That's one thing that I almost feel like, Jarvis Cocker and, Pulp could win the, "Hey, bro, stop harshing our audience award at the Grammys," or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you don't see that every day. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate that as a song, and like I said, it's a really good song. I'm a huge Pulp fan, and yeah, that's kind of the raison d'être for this week's episode.
I think there's a nice production aspect of the song too, where they kind of intermix kind of the sounds, kind of lives. It almost sounds like it's being performed live. I'm sure it
Yes.
wasn't. I don't know if the actual track itself was a live version of the song, but probably not. But there's an aspect of it that makes it feel like you're in a at a concert or hearing some kind of muffled guitar or muffled audience noises from like the background that makes it feel
Hmm.
like you're in this, field in Camden, I think, as he says. And it's just great. Great choice, Richard.
Well, good or
Thank you.
bad, drugs at least have a mystery about them, and for somebody to say they're boring, they're stupid, d you're dumb to mess with them, that's almost like, demystifying a little bit, so that's an interesting approach.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your next song about drugs, and is it about a hallucinogenic,
It
Michael?
is. And
Okay.
my second choice is probably the song that is either most identifiable if you were going to make like the like uh, hokiest uh, drug scene in a movie where someone doesn't matter what kind of drugs they're on. The song "White Rabbit" by Jefferson Airplane
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
is going to be playing in the background, where the lyrics are obviously taken from Alice in Wonderland or Through the Looking Glass or some sort of Lewis Carroll sort of inspired kind of psychedelia. But I think this song is just one of those where the strange kind of marching sound in the background, and it's kind of uh, the lyrics of like one pill makes you smaller and etc etc uh, is like, it seems like it's like someone just cribbed the lyrics from just you know the Alice in Wonderland, but the music, the psychedelic music in the background, kind of appeals to a person who might be under said influence of drugs. And I think that that seemed to be obviously that what they were going for. But sometimes on Mount Rushmore, I think there are obvious picks that shouldn't be avoided just because they are obvious picks, and I think this is one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I find it fascinating listening to, favorite podcast, The History of Rock and 500 Songs about, The Doors and others, The Byrds and some early,
That's a
mu
podcast that I've been meaning to check out. I got to write that one down again.
it's very
Remind me later.
academic, but it's very, it has some really interesting connections and assertions, but, like, thinking of, that song, White Rabbit, or thinking of The End, by The Doors and how much they owe, or even something like, 8 Miles High, how much psychedelic rock owes to raga and Indian music and jazz and all these people like Thelonious Monk, So, but I think it's interesting what you described is we are can examine the lyrics and what they're saying, like sorted for ease and whiz, but what you're describing, Michael, I think is the emotional state and that the music puts you in. Whether she was rambling, she could be reading from William Shakespeare or something like that, and we would still know that this is a druggy song. So.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
definitely the
And
music itself is or the music rather than the lyrics are what kind of generates kind of like the kind of psychedelicness
Yeah,
of it.
wasn't Grace Slick a socialite, rich girl model. Anyway, so
Yes, she was.
somebody was talking about. I think there's a lyric. You've just had some kind of mushroom in that um, song, and somebody was. It was a meme. I'll confess, it was a meme that was talking about how people always say magic mushrooms, like as if to infer or as claiming that's that kind of mushroom that they got their psychedelic experience from. Like we thought you meant portobello mushrooms. Like no,
Right.
nobody thought. You don't have to say magic wink wink mushrooms. We didn't think it was a shiitake that got you super high at Glastonbury. Okay, all right, Richard, what's your second one?
All right, my second choice, same time period, a little more subtle, probably. "Got to Get You Into My Life" by the Beatles.
Oh wow, I didn't know that was a drug song.
That is a drug song. That is a
Wow,
song. That is a song that Paul McCartney wrote about his awakening with pot.
is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
and he's basically said it's. Here's the quote: "It's actually an ode to pot, like someone else might write an ode to chocolate or a good claret." So it's basically about, right around that time, that's when they were really, the Beatles had been introduced to pot, and it was something that was becoming part of their lifestyle. And Paul McCartney decided to write a song kind of celebrating that, but knowing that he couldn't come out straight out and say this
Yeah.
is about pot. So, but if you listen to the lyrics, I mean, I took a ride, I didn't know what I would find there. Another road where maybe I could see some other kind of mind there. It's
Mhm. Yeah.
it's subtle in that you can get away with thinking that it's about a relationship with, like your girlfriend
Mhm.
or your wife or whatever,
Yeah.
your a significant other. But it is a love song, but it's certainly a love song about something that's not 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 human based.
Yeah. I love the Beatles because they're like, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds? No, that's not about drugs.
Right. That's a drawing that my son's friend
Yeah.
made.
Really? The LSD song? Okay. All right. I love, like, is this song the reason why Paul McCartney got arrested at every airport Wings ever landed in? It seems.
Well, I just assumed that in the 70s when he was with Wings, there was like a giant cloud of pot smoke that
Yeah.
followed him around like Pigpen from
Yeah.
Peanuts.
Yeah.
That was probably the giveaway.
Uh-huh. Well, that's a lot of fun. Yeah, I think of the Beatles' career. You can kind of chart their dalliances through every kind of substance. What is it in that the Hamburg, Germany? Having to take methamphetamines to try to play on stage for 8 hours as they were required to. So
Right.
I don't know if you could if they wrote any songs ever there, but that's interesting that Paul's an ode to marijuana.
Yeah.
Seems so innocent now.
Yeah, and it's a great song too. I mean, I love
Mhm.
that it's kind of when Paul McCartney wrote it, he wanted it to sound like almost like a Stax Memphis Soul
Yeah,
kind of sound.
it's got it.
And the horns and everything, it's got it. So you've got this kind of upbeat, sort of like real driving
Yeah,
song about pot,
I feel
which
like
is
that.
not something.
So go ahead.
I was gonna say, which things that I think about when I think of being stoned, hard driving and
Yeah,
charging is not
yeah.
necessarily fast paced. Is not
It
what I think of.
seems like it's. Oh shit! It seems like it's got like a backwards guitar solo or something in it, or like a mellotron or something psychedelic sounding in the middle of it. That just seems like the kind of the maybe the requisite trippy sound in that song.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of little stuff going on. You got
Mhm.
the kind of very the little guitar outro that kind of comes out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
there's little guitar solos and things like that. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
we'll probably. I love that all of these songs that we're mentioning are probably in a Pampers commercial or something like that. At some
Oh,
point.
sure. Yeah. I'm yeah. Once Michael Jackson got hold of it, it was,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was farmed out for the
Yeah.
highest bidder.
All right, it's time to do drugs. It's our halftime. So what we do at the halftime usually is get out a drug paraphernalia. We start to insert drugs in it,
Uh-huh.
and we light up that drug thing, and then we take a puff. Is that what we? I don't know. We take a snort.
Getting closer.
Okay. And then we just go crazy and we go to our phones and download past episodes of the Mount Rushmore podcast, and then just leave random stars on them, like 1 on one and 2 on another, but then a lot of 5 because we're getting crazy. And we invite you to do the same thing too. And then also, if you don't mind, now that you're in this suggestive hallucinogenic state, just grab your phone and go to any of the socials that you'll find Mount Rushmore on, and just type in a word collage, and that will be our next topic that we discuss. So it could be any series of words, anything. It doesn't have to make sense. So let us know what topics you'd like us to discuss.
Hey, I'm Will.
And I'm Kat. Oh, that was loud. Sorry.
If you love 1980s pop culture, you'll love 1980s Now. Each week, we discuss our favorite 1980s media.
Like movies, TV shows, music.
Yeah, we chat with our favorite 1980s celebrities. Let's see, we got a lot of those.
And sometimes it's more meaningful, like Affirmations with Dee Wallace.
And other times, Alex Winter tells us what Bill and Ted's phone booth smells like.
Smelly.
But it's always fun.
And sometimes there's a surprise game, like right now, because once again, it's time to play...
When you think of garbage, think of Akeem.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, darn. I thought you had something.
You don't have to miss the 1980s.
You can have your 1980s now.
Because that's the name of the show. You think people got that part? I don't know.
Yes.
And we're back, and now it's Winfield's third, probably about cocaine.
It is. Oh, I'm glad you took notes. Thank you.
I
That kept
took
me
notes.
on track.
Yeah.
Well, Get Higher, Baby. Let's see. Get Higher, Baby. Get Higher, Baby. It's White Lines.
Also on
Wow.
my list. Also on my list.
Wow.
It's a great
Okay.
choice.
In parentheses, Don't Do
Don't
It.
do it.
Don't do it.
By Melly Mel. The 1983 rap song that is kind of about the grandeur and the warnings of drugs and cocaine and smuggling drugs and smuggling lots of drugs. And it's a pretty ridiculous song. The lines are increasingly ridiculous. But it's just so iconic. I don't know if I thought of it and so pleased by the song because of that one scene in Shaun of the Dead. The zombies were
Sure.
obviously comes to mind. I can't hear the song without thinking of zombies, unfortunately.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
I think that what's funny about the song is it's so like overt in its caution. Like it doesn't really hold anything back. Like, you know, White Line Highway as a lyric that stands out. That's, you know, all the things that it just kind of speaks to. That's all about snorting cocaine and how you're going to get into trouble, how it's going to kill your brain. And I don't know. It's just a ridiculous song about doing cocaine, about how expensive it is and how you're going to lose all your money unless you're like rich, and then it really just doesn't matter. Like, I don't know, Rich, why did you choose
Well,
this?
you know, I kind of chose it because it was one of the first kind of rap songs to talk about drugs, and really one of the first rap songs to kind of take on any sort of social issues. I mean, before that, rap was really just about braggadocio or going, or it was party music. And this is one of the first songs in its own way that tries to take on a social issue. You know, the fact that the little section talking about where street kid gets arrested and he's going to do 3 years, 3 years time. But if a businessman gets caught, he's going to go out on bail.
Yeah.
So they were addressing the racial inequities of the justice system decades before it was something that we were talking about in the mainstream. And also the bass line fucking slaps.
Yeah,
That's the other reason.
I was reading that I guess there was some sort of contention regarding about the origins of the bass line and accreditation on the album. And boy, that happened a lot. It still happens a lot when you take part of a bit of music and put it on your album, and I guess you hope you don't get caught. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah, that basically wound up bankrupting Sugar Hill Records because they got the tar suit out of them by the artist that owned the copyright on the song Liquid Liquid, I think it's called, that the bass line was essentially lifted from.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though the song was a big hit, especially in the UK, it wound up, I think they lost like $600,000, and that was basically the end of the record label. Yeah. So stealing other people's bass lines, don't do it.
Was this
Also,
it's different than a sample, right? It's not like because Sugar Hill Gang also ripped off Good Times. The Rapper's Delight has the kind of the walking bass line from Good
sure.
Times. Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
And also, don't cover this song, which is something that Duran Duran did not learn for their cover album in the 90s when they did a cover version of White Lines with, what's his name, Simon Le Bon, attempting to rap. It was about as successful as you would expect.
Oh, wow.
So wait,
that's
when did
interesting.
when did that one come out? Let me go to the Wikipedia page.
Is this the only "Don't Do Drugs" song, or the only anti-drug song so far?
Well, kind of sorted through Ease and Whiz
Yeah.
to some extent.
Yeah.
1995. They should have known better by then.
Yeah, by 95, they should have known better.
They should have seen what Blondie tried to do, and they should have seen what Adam Ant tried to do, and they should have said, let's stay as far away from like the early days of appropriating this art form. But no.
I'm gonna make a list of English people who should be rapping.
Yes.
The Streets.
Okay.
That's it.
Lily Allen. Okay.
That's it.
What? Well, their Dixieland record was pretty good, and that's going out.
That was surprising. Yeah, that is the bluegrass album that they did. I
think it was like a Simon Le Bon interview of like a few years ago where he talked about all the times they tried to not beat Duran Duran and how they failed every time. Like,
right.
God bless them. God bless them. Okay, well, it's the last one, Richard. I hope you're not too drugged out to tell us what your last choice is.
Well, I have been doing all the drugs while we've been.
I thought you saw. Oh, you did? I thought I saw you do a drug just now. Oh,
yeah,
you just did a drug.
Literally, I have an IV that has all of the drugs just liquefied going into my system. So I decided my last one should be a more modern song, modern-ish, not really modern. I guess it's 20 years ago now. But
Rudy Valleys, I Love Opium.
Yes. The song is Because I Got High by Afro Man.
Okay, that's a funny song.
Which is just a funny song. You know, him kind of like going through this laundry list of things that went wrong with his life because he got high, whether it's failing his college classes or getting fired from his job or becoming a paraplegic. You know, it gets increasingly more absurd as the song goes on. As you can imagine, the song was whipped up very quickly by Afro Man. Was recorded in a matter of minutes. Was something that he was just releasing. It was available as a single, I think, through his, if you go see him on a live show. It eventually was posted on Napster. Remember Napster?
Oh,
Remember when a song being on Napster meant that it went viral?
Wow.
Isn't that weird? Anyway,
wow.
So it got on Napster. It went viral because someone on the Howard Stern show found out about it. They started playing it on that show. And from there, it kind of just took off and was one of the, I remember in 2001, it was really one of the hits of the summer. Total one-hit wonder. Just, a song just about, getting high and all the bad things that'll happen to you if you do it, but you're still going to do it anyway because it's pot and it's fun. It's good times.
Yeah. It does seem like it's not lecturing, but it's not sugarcoating it either.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a comedy song. I don't know how else to put it. I don't even know if I guess it's hip hop, but it's just sort of there. It's its own. It's Because I Got High. It's its own thing.
He's got the vocal dexterity of like a Bismarcky too. It's not
Yes.
like he's
Yes, he is
a little
definitely
bit better. Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
a little, maybe I don't diss the Biz, R.I.P.
Okay. Winfield, if you can even hold on the microphone, what's the last one you got?
My final choice is definitely more melancholic, I guess, and surprising as one of the biggest hits of, in kind of the history of alternative rock and roll. But "Under the Bridge" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is definitely kind of like a fucking downer.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, it's a really depressing song about doing drugs. It's a really depressing song about like the choices Anthony Kiedis had made, kind of growing up in Los Angeles, and all the things that he has kind of given up to get high and do heroin and cocaine and all these things, versus being with friends and family, and these feelings of isolation and depression and feeling only connected to Los Angeles as kind of like this oblique entity out there. But like, I don't know, it's one of those weird songs that it's like a ballad to like shitty times, and I don't think if anybody sings about that. Do they? I guess maybe that's all of country music. Never mind. But I just find it interesting. This song uh, is like, I don't know, the tone, the meter of it feels so like so slow paced until it gets to the end, and then it kind of has this big explosion of, I don't know if it's him coming out of his haze and funk and rejoining life. But I guess the story behind the song was that he was feeling really disconnected um, from his bandmates. Like, he had stopped using drugs, but some of his other bandmates hadn't, and so he kind of felt this um, distancing, not distance, distancing from his other bandmates, and writing kind of this poetry about that, and kind of reflecting on these times when he was just high all the time. And I don't know. I think it's a very interesting song that starts one place and gets so much bigger and bigger by the end. I don't know. Is that what doing drugs is like? I assume that's what it is. I assume you're just feeling terrible until you shoot something in your vein, and then you're just like exploding, like super happy.
I do not know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
Iron-
Like this you're talking to someone who's never done any sort of drugs in his life. So
I my contribution to this song, it's a great choice, by the way, Michael, was I remember watching Saturday Night Live when they performed this song, and John Frusciante, the guitar player, was ironically really whacked out on heroin and also hated the song, so he decided to sabotage the band and the performance by playing the intro out of key, wrong tempo, wrong notes, just completely mangled it on purpose, and
Wow.
just threw off the band for the rest of the song. So I just, in retrospect, and Anthony Kiedis talked about it in his biography. In retrospect, it's kind of fascinating that you've got this song about the dangers of heroin, and you've got people up there playing the song badly because they're on heroin.
Well, I would say that song does put me in definitely a mood when I hear it. And as far as songs we've listed that kind of they don't glorify it, or they put you in an atmosphere in which you think people might be doing drugs, but that song definitely does have this gloomy kind of vibe to it that portends like a person facing an inflection point where they got to decide to try to get out of it before they get consumed. Under the Bridge could be under the water for that person. So yeah, that's really interesting. And as
There's
an Angelino, for sure, I feel like I'm understanding that you connect with it, because it
there,
probably at North Hollywood High they probably had teachers dealing drugs, right? In that school. Did they give it to you at the cafeteria? Drugs?
We'd walk through the gate, and they'd hold out a whole they had just like a whole like little smorgasbord. It was almost like a charcuterie plate of what kind of drugs do you want to do today for lunch? And you'd say like, okay, well, here's my 50 cents. I want to do this drug and I want to do that drug. And then you'd see somebody else and they'd have a cookie. And then you'd take all of that stuff, just trade it for a big chocolate chip cookie because they had those for like 75 cents. And those were good chocolate chip cookies.
I would say that's my.
And they were big cookies too. They were big cookies too. So.
There aren't many songs that are pro heroin. There are a lot of pro pot songs, for example. You just don't see many upbeat kind of fun songs about heroin.
Yeah.
Why do the heroin songs always have to be the downers? Is what I'm trying to say.
Well, then that's the first thing on the Mount Rushmore is "Semi-Charmed Life" by Third Eye Blind.
Third Eye Blind.
I think that's an upbeat song about heroin, actually.
It is.
Yeah. So no. Okay. So I'm not going to do that to you guys. Why don't we choose? Definitely would choose White Lines because Richard and Michael both thunk about it. And
Free bass.
Richard opened my eyes to a song that I've been listening to my whole life, and that is actually about marijuana. So got to get you into my life. Let's do that one. And boy, you really took me on a ride under the bridge there, Michael, on that one. So let's choose Under the Bridge. Is that it? Or do I have another one?
Got one more.
One more.
You can do this. You can do this, Jeff.
I think I can do this.
I have faith in you.
I think I can do this.
I hope he chooses a song that I most attribute to Jeff. When I ever think of this song, I think of Jess. Let's see if we can do it.
Because I got high.
Afro Man, he did it.
That's it. Guys, we got to go to rehab. Maybe we should do the Mount Rushmore rehab.
Hey, I said no.
Amy Winehouse. Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been the Mount Rushmore of songs about drugs. I am always Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Afro Man.
Drugs.
Drugs.
Next.